One link building question I'm always getting is about right for us pages, and this is a major misconception. Should you build links from sites which have right for us, guest post guidelines, and those kinds of other pages that are basically baiting for link builders, arguably? So there's been this belief that at some point Google is going to crack down and basically change its algorithm so that all links from websites which have these right for us pages are going to be devalued. So the theory behind that is Google is always looking to crack down on artificial link building. Google doesn't want you to go out and get backlinks. But the fact is, unless you started 10 years ago, it's very unlikely you're going to be getting any links for free. Even if you're a venture capital backed startup, the chances are you're going to be doing paid media campaigns, PR campaigns. So arguably, you're still doing paid link building. So I don't really buy this white hat dogma that every link you build has got to be earned by producing valuable content. If your valuable content isn't ranking in the first place, then it's not going to attract any backlinks. So build your links, push those pages to the top, and then you'll get more links, and that's how you'll really dominate Google. I totally fell for this misconception for years, thinking link building was too difficult, too expensive, and frankly too complicated. I couldn't trust myself not to mess it up and build the wrong links. And yet, as soon as I started building links, my traffic and revenue took off. And there was definitely the sense of, why didn't anyone tell me this earlier? And the answer is quite simple, which is exactly where this misconception comes from. Link building is obviously very valuable. It doesn't really make sense to do it on your own because it's a huge setup cost. It's a lot of work to actually get going. But once you're operating, once you're doing it at scale, once you've figured it all out, it actually gets much easier and it really works to do at volume. So in my case, we reach out to thousands of websites every week, both for my site and my clients. So already in terms of team and software costs, it doesn't cost that much more to do that level of link building rather than just doing it for myself. And then we have our extensive screening process and a negotiation with every webmaster, which basically means we build a rapport, we build a trust with that webmaster. They know we want to come back to them every month, and therefore they're not going to mess us around. Whereas there's loads of bloggers out there that will happily take your money, give you the link, and then 2 weeks later, that link just disappears. Whereas in our case, that doesn't happen because we have that partnership. We have that strong, good relationship. So because of that, definitely makes sense to outsource link building. Definitely makes sense to, in my case, run a link building agency. But because of that, all link building agencies are competing. And there's always a sense of how do you differentiate yourself? And of course, it all comes down to quality. You don't really want to compete on price because that's just a race to the bottom where no one wins. And we're still dealing with this largely unknown algorithm. So truthfully, no one really knows 100% of how Google values backlink. And therefore, all these misconceptions pop up and people have to theorize about things and then hope that certain people will buy into that particular theory. And what that means is there's a huge amount of misinformation out there where people are making these claims with no real evidence. And one of those is the right for us page conundrum. Now, still today, I get people coming to me saying, can you guarantee that none of the links you build for us will have right for us pages? And we always reply that it's a mix. Yes, we've got this lengthy screening process, I've got it open here, where we factor in all kinds of different manipulation tactics and different quality screening metrics. And one of those are actually right for us pages and guest post bait, but it's not a hard red flag. So yes, if there's a right for us page or lots of right for us pages, I'll come on to the nuances of these later on, then that will definitely be points down and we'll deprioritize that link. It'll definitely lose points, but we don't outright ban them just because they've got a right for us page. And I'll explain why. So people have had this claim for years now, saying that tomorrow, this month, next month, Google's going to devalue pages with right for us pages, but it just hasn't happened yet. And the reason behind that is really quite simple. When you turn around and look at this, you can really see this is just a link building myth created by agencies to try and sell links. In fact, if anything, I think it's almost more a red flag that certain agencies are working with shady PBN or link network providers where they're able to have that leverage, where they control a large number of sites and they can make that claim that none of our sites we use will use right for us pages because they're their websites. So they're talking about building white hat links that don't do this thing by doing a load of other black hat stuff. You shouldn't be building links all from the same network. That's not aimed at anyone in particular. That's just a theory I've got, but it makes total sense that if you're selling links on your own network of sites and you want to try and say that they're the best quality links in the world, then saying none of our links have right for us pages is a really good way of doing that. So what is the logic behind this idea? Basically, traditional link building, you simply do a search and say best credit card, and then you put in quotation marks right for us, and then perform a search like that. And that would then, using this advanced search operator, Google would only give you pages talking about best credit cards with the words right for us, and therefore you can go through and see all these websites which talk about credit cards, they're related to the topic you're trying to rank for. So they have that niche relevance, but then you come down to the bottom and they should have a Write For Us page. And there it is, just there. So that's how you know you can get a guest post. And don't forget, 5-10 years ago, we had this golden era where people didn't know the value of links, loads of blogs springing up all over the place. So you could just reach out en masse, find everyone in your niche who has a Write For Us page, and reach out and ask for a guest post from them. And quite often that would be free because you still had this value exchange. You're offering the guest post, you're saving them time and effort, and you really are pitching them, and therefore they get value from that. Whereas today we've got AI content, no one really needs writers unless you're a true authority on the subject. They don't need you as a guest blogger, and they know what you want. They know you just want the link, so they will still charge you for the link. And people have got whole SOPs built around this. It doesn't have to be Write For Us. It can be guest post. So therefore you can find all these sites in your niche that accept guest posts, supposedly. So this is how we end up with these Write For Us pages that people are now concerned about. But this was a classic part of the blogosphere. 5-10 years ago, you would not worry about this. This all seems perfectly legitimate. It's a good quality blog. They want to foster collaboration. So here are their requirements. But yes, what if Google does come along and decides that actually this is a sign that sites are selling links, or either way doing some sort of transaction that's artificial link manipulation, and we're just going to remove any sites that do this and devalue any of their links? Well, the problem we run into there is you start questioning, do you want a link from, say, The Guardian? Because The Guardian has a Write For Us page. What about the New York Times? The New York Times has a Write For Us page. What about the Financial Times? The Financial Times has a Write For Us page. And Forbes is an absolute PR machine. So they've got various details here about how you can get in touch with editors. And there's also the Forbes Council, where if you fulfill the criteria, which is basically based on revenue, you can join the Forbes Council. And it's basically a very expensive networking group, but it allows you, the main benefit they'll sell you is the ability to post on Forbes. I went through their whole application process here to work out what it would take, and it's very clear that they talk about this network, but they keep on saying you want the prestige, the PR value of writing for Forbes. So they're selling that all over the place. So Google's not going to be able to do anything about Write For Us pages without taking out a huge number of major media brands and all their outbound links. If you did true PR, if you had a proper established bricks and mortar business and you'd had coverage in The Guardian, the New York Times, Financial Times, you'd have thought those are the safest links you could get. And I'd agree with that. So I don't think that's going to change. From an algorithmic level, it seems very difficult for how on earth Google would be able to apply that at scale and say that some Write For Us pages are bad, some are good, that kind of thing. There is an exception to that, and we include that in our link screening process for all our clients, where basically it's guest post and advertise bait. So I have nothing wrong with a website that has got a subtle little page in the footer somewhere. Let's see, we've got work for us, advertise with us. These are all fairly legitimate, and we've just got a simple page here where it says the option is open. We're not desperate to let you write an article, but if you think you've got a good story, get in touch with us, and then we'll see. Then to me, that's perfectly legitimate. That's what a big media brand would do. The problem I find is when you come across a site that is desperate to get you to guest post, and that's where it's a problem. So as usual in my videos, I don't want to dob anyone in, but if we go to Contact, this is a popular link building site. I've seen it used by big international agencies providing links for major corporate clients. Now, I've talked about this before. Big major agencies still use some of the worst links I've ever seen. And in this case, it doesn't take long to realize just how shady this website is. So if I go to Contact, the only drop down on Contact is guest posts. Then we have a separate page for Media Pack. And then we have About, which has got Collaborate and Make a Contribution, Media Pack. And I think that's it. And then we come to the bottom. Here we've got Advertise Here all over the website. And then at the bottom, again, it's Guest Post Inquiries, Guest Posts, Make a Contribution, Media Pack. So this is where I'm getting dubious. Is it this website's whole priority just to sell you a guest post? Because that's where we have a problem. Now, you might be thinking, would you use this website anyway? Well, to a lot of agencies, we've got a DR of 65, and 1,700 visitors per month. So it actually passes a lot of screening criteria. But that many guest post pages, advertise, Write For Us, all of those, that was already very shady. And I bet if we dug deeper, we'd find other red flags which would discount it from our consideration. So this is why I say a lot of big international agencies will say it's DR65. They might not even talk about the traffic, but they're not looking at all these details. Same again for this example, where in the useful links at the bottom, we've got their PR agency. Fair enough, those magazines do actually, they are the front house brand of a PR agency. That's not the end of the world, but we've got Write For Us, guest posting opportunities. sponsored posts. So 2 separate footer links for effectively the same thing. And that's basically for SEO purposes, where these people, if you've got a network of sites and you want to sell guest posts, then you want to rank pages for those right for us terms. So what you'll find is people will actually optimize pages for supplements, right for us, supplements, guest posts, even stuffing keywords into the right for us pages. Now, not only is it the quantity of right for us pages, guest posts, contribute, sponsored posts, all of those, but also what's actually on there. And in this case, they've actually cleaned it up. This now looks much better. So for that reason, I've had to go back to the Wayback Machine to show you what this looked like before. It's been this way for about 2 years now since I discovered it, and they had publicly available link pricing on the right for us page. So 2 things there: you don't want multiple right for us pages, but also publicly listed link pricing. So this is the kind of thing that'd be very bad if you got a manual review from Google. But even algorithmically, if Google just came in and said, we're going to discount right for us pages, but especially if they actually include pricing information, so currencies, numbers, it wouldn't be that difficult to algorithmically detect if there's pricing information on the right for us page, then that could be a problem. Now again, there's nuance to that. If I go back to our screening SOP, then quite often these right for us pages will talk about some kind of admin fee or contribution. I didn't like the fact that this one is really specific in terms of permanent post, sponsored post, different categories, gambling, Bitcoin, vaping, CBD. And so it's like a menu, really specific. Whereas if we have a look at some other examples, we can see what does it cost? Please contact us for more details. So that's secure. That's not admitting we sell guest posts. Also not forgetting that tight editorial guidelines are also a good thing. If we do not accept gambling, dating or essay writing websites, that's tough if you're in one of those niches, but it does actually mean that this site is not selling posts to everyone. If they talk about having high editorial standards, then that's a good thing. That's a sign that they're not just a link farm. And then similarly, I found before, links to your website, kindly assist us with a small donation to support services of an editor for the blog. I think that's okay. It's kind of admitting that it's paying for links. But again, I think it's far more nuanced language than here's the price for a link to your website. Now, obviously, I've talked a load of theory in this video, but how do I prove it? I'm always saying with SEO, the great thing about SEO is all just correlation. Most of your hypotheses you can actually test out just by looking at what's ranking right now. So in this case, I just looked up best credit card for travel in the US. So that should be quite a competitive niche. It's not black hat, but it's still financial and high value. And NerdWallet is, of course, number 1. So been going through looking at their backlinks. I found this one, azbigmedia.com. And if we come to the bottom of azbigmedia.com, we have a sponsored content link. That just goes to their archive of sponsored content, but that's pretty clear that they're selling posts one way or another. There's also this advertisers and sponsors disclaimer, basically saying some of our content is paid, and that's how media works. So Google can't do anything about this without also doing that to New York Times, Guardian, Financial Times. Okay, maybe not the Guardian because they claim to be reader supported, but generally big media still has to make money somehow, and news revenue has gone through the floor. So brand collaborations, paid sponsorships are just how the media works. But Google still relies on these links, these recommendations from expert journalists and editors to inform its algorithm, to tell us what good websites are. That's the whole fundamental of how the Google algorithm works. Links from other websites equal good content, trustworthy, and you can't really get more trustworthy than big media brands from a journalist specialised in that niche. Of course, loads of us would argue that a lot of the blogs, certainly that we place links on, are actually bigger authorities than a big journalist who's just taking a turn with different subjects. Niche blog writer and owner is going to be far more knowledgeable and passionate about a subject. So if there's a Right For Us page on a blog, that's still going to be a valuable link. Here's another one, Oregon Live, big media brand. So here's the link to NerdWallet. And if we come to the bottom, then we have sponsor content here. So that's just a couple within a few minutes. If I keep going down here, I'm sure there'll be plenty more. Let's not forget, Google doesn't expect you to curate and clean up the internet for it. You can't control if someone else links to your website. So Google's much more likely to punish the perpetrators, where there's a clear pattern that this website is selling links all over the place, has got multiple pages, desperate for you buying links off them. So it is those sites that are much more likely to get the penalty rather than the sites they've linked to. So that's why, as I explained in my last video, traffic is really important in link building. We don't build any links from sites with less than 1,000 traffic. If you've started a site, you know it does take some time, effort and skill to get above 1,000 traffic. So the chances are, if it's getting more than 1,000 traffic, Google really likes that website and trusts it, and will therefore trust the links and recommendations it makes. So just to reiterate, that's why I'm not concerned about Right For Us pages, But just be careful, if the whole footer is full of guest post, write for us, contribute, sponsored content, then there might be some red flags. And the chances are, if you keep digging, you'll find a load more red flags. But the chances are, one write for us page, but otherwise it's a good site, getting good traffic, has good backlinks, then I do not have a problem with getting that link. And if you're too fussy, you're just not going to get the volume of links you need. If you're in a competitive niche, you need to build links. Sometimes done is better than perfect, and you're much better off building links consistently over time, building your backlink velocity, rather than being too slow, too picky, staying on the fence, and never actually building any links, never pushing your rankings up.